Hey guys, I'm back with another video. This time I'm going to tell you basically why I think zoos are terrible and why my dad works for terrible people. Basically, I think zoos are terrible because they don't do anything for conservation and they just keep animals confined in two small enclosures with no enrichment or very little enrichment or stimulation. Basically, I've been to a lot of zoos. I've been to roadside zoos. I've been to the National Zoo. I've been to mid-sized zoos. But as an environmental science major who has studied like conservation and all that stuff, I think zoos are kind of terrible. Another story that kind of ties into this is that my dad used to work/help a roadside zoo. To start it all off, my dad used to work for USDA. This was under Bush, so 2004 to 2008, my dad worked for the USDA, or United States Department of Agriculture. And this was when the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus was under investigation for animal welfare. Basically, I think he volunteered, but he volunteered with some other people from USDA to go behind the scenes and check out the animals. And they invited the families were invited, so I went along. The animals were pretty well kept. I mean, they weren't like mistreated, but I remember they were feeding the elephants like whole loaves of bread, and I was like, do elephants even eat bread? Like, that's so processed. Like, it was like whole loaves of white bread, and I was like, that's not even good for us. I actually did some Googling, and apparently it's not that bad for them, but in my opinion, I don't think elephants should be eating loaves of bread. I don't even think we should be eating the bread we eat because it's so processed and stripped of nutrients. But basically, from this experience working with the USDA and looking at the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus, my dad, when he left USDA, he worked as a consultant. That was my fridge. I don't know if you heard that, but he worked for the Natural Bridge Zoo. They hired him as a consultant because at that time they had about 41 violations from like USDA, and PETA was investigating them. But basically they were like, yo, how can we stay open? And they hired my dad. So after some work, my dad took us to Natural Bridge, Virginia for vacation, and he showed us a zoo. It wasn't that bad of a zoo. It was like a small zoo, kind of roadside. It was a roadside zoo. But the elephant was kept alone. Elephants are social creatures. She was kept alone, no other elephants, and she was basically forced to give rides to visitors, which I don't think should be done. We rode on the elephant, like around this small paddock, and the handler just kind of like walked beside her, and I was like, well, if this elephant rampages, like we're screwed. But he worked for them. I looked up what they're doing today, and they have over 100 violations, and they're still open. They have over 100 animal welfare violations, and I just think that's terrible. That zoos that are abusing animals, not treating them well, I just think that they shouldn't stay open, but they do. And yeah. Basically, if you look at the evidence, zoos claim to raise awareness for animal conservation. But a survey, I watched this whole video. This survey, oh, my hand's purple. I dyed my eyebrows if you can't tell. But the survey showed that people actually don't really care that much about welfare animal conservation after visiting a zoo. So that doesn't really do anything. And they also claim that they help species from going extinct. And they're acting as like a placeholder for animals that can be to be released into the wild if that animal were to be like endangered. But these animals in zoos aren't treated or raised how they wouldn't be in the wild. They don't have to find their food. They don't have to hunt. And if they're bred in zoos for multiple generations, they eventually lose all that, all the, like, abilities to fend for themselves in the wild because they don't have to do that. Basically, they are more domesticated, somewhat. They're around humans, they're being fed by humans, and they would never survive in the wild. So zoos don't really do anything except show animals to people who can't travel to another country to see these animals. And I think that's just, they're animal prisons, basically, in my opinion. And that's how I feel about zoos. But yeah, that's that. And that's why I hate zoos. So like, comment, subscribe if you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.